In this video, we're going to break down each and every character in Marvel Crisis Protocol that is 6 threat or higher. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Big Gaming. Happy Valentine's Day, and we have a little Valentine's Day treat for you. We're going to be breaking down the 6 threats, the 2024 one, and I'm glad we didn't do it earlier, Quinn, because it's fair to say there's been a few changes.
just a couple. See, when you said like Valentine's Day treat, I thought you were going to talk about that secret link in the description that's always been there. That's a picture of you.
The OnlyFans link, yeah. There we go. Look, I got a little chocolate love heart. There we go. I didn't ask you, Quinn. Quinn, how the hell are you doing, sir? You don't know.
Does anyone ever know?
People are mad with me, aren't they?
I mean, when are they not? This is what happens when you decide it's a good idea to make a video on your own. You don't have me to rein you in. We spoke about it, and you were on the agreement fence with me with maybe not everything, but a lot of it. I mean, I've also now actually looked at all the new crises, and I'm really fond of them, so...
No. And I think this is what people misunderstood with the video, was I'm fine with them rotating crises out. I love the new crisis. The secure that lets you interact and do a damage to anyone within 3. I'm like,
I like the one that like drags people in if they're not within 2.
That one's good as well. But it was the reasons they gave, and like they've got rid of. I mean, do you remember the days when we used to have 14 threat, and it used to cause a real problem, and it was great. Now they've got rid of all the 15s.
I remember Wakandan Herbs. That was my favourite, and I want it back.
Wakandan Herbs was good.
It was an extract where you actually had to do something with it.
It's essentially capture the flag, wasn't it? Go to your opponent's half, capture the flag, come back. No, and I think this was maybe lost a little bit in the video. My overall problem was if they obviously have a fundamental issue with very big. And when I say big, I mean tall, kaiju-type characters who are just beating everybody up. And they've stated that they have a problem with, heavy movement-based characters. And I'm like, surely a better way of addressing those teams and those playstyles is on the characters themselves and not on the crisis cards. Like, give us more variety, but like maybe take away a range 2 place on a 3-threat character with no impact other than you get extra dice in your next attack that has a throw on the back end of it. But anyway, I've been told off for slamming on Web Warriors all the time. But anyway, Quinn, we're not here to talk about my little rant that I had yesterday or the day before. We're here to talk about 6 threats. And we started recording this, didn't we? And then my computer crashed, we had a corrupted file, and we didn't get back to it. And then I think the day later, they released the thought. Might have even been that afternoon.
It was later that day, yeah. Like I went to sleep in the early evening because of my sleep cycle, woke up a bit later, and was like, the sky's fallen.
The sky has fallen for some people, yeah. And we'll address and talk about some of those changes and how we think it's impacted the particular characters. Going to be doing some more videos next week. We actually have, Quinn doesn't know about this yet, but I actually have a special guest coming on, and we're going to be talking about how we think the meta will look in the next coming months with new releases, new crisis cards and such things. But Quinn, we're here to talk about 6 threats. Now, it's fair to say, isn't it, that your expectation from a character goes up and up and up the higher the threat level there are. I think that's a fair assumption to make.
Apart from grunts, the expectation of grunts is always higher than the parent character is, to be honest.
4 magic dice that they get to use. That you guarantee, it's almost like it's built in that they get a crit. But yeah. So high expectation for them. We're going to see a lot of leaders in this list as well. Now, when you're getting into the realms of 6 threats being leaders, I almost then expect that 6 threat character to be even better, because if you are forced into taking a particular 6 threat to be your leader, it heavily impacts who and what you can take for the rest of your list, doesn't it? Because so much of that, what are we on now? 16 threat is the lowest. So, over a third of your threat allocation is on one character. And then up to, 20 threat, even so, a very, very high percentage of it. So I think I'm going to be looking at these leaders and really looking at, whereas you might let, in the olden days, right? Steve won, Captain America won off. You'd be like, yeah, do you know what? He's not the best character, but he brings a great leadership. If they don't bring a great leadership and they're not a good character at 6 threat, like it's a bit harder to get away with, isn't it? So let's go through the rankings, Quinn, really quickly then. So S down to D, standard Japanese tier system. Everybody loves it, apart from that one guy. A through to C are going to be varying degrees of they're fine, they're great, they're maybe a little under the curve, but they don't need any significant changes. Maybe a 1 point here or there. S tier is going to be, they're not only a good character, they have something within their arsenal that we believe fundamentally breaks the game and shouldn't be in the game. And then D tier is going to be, very bad, very, very bad, and kind of falls into that category of probably needs a rework, as well as maybe some tactics cards or something that they can bring. So starting out then, Quinn, we are going to be starting with a leader, and we're going to be starting with Apocalypse. Servants of the Apocalypse, he is the leader for. I think, Quinn, Apocalypse is a great example of a good 6 threat leader. Does enough himself. And obviously his leadership is very, very different. The Servants of the Apocalypse, where he brings all of these extra cards that other characters can use. Stat line is pretty darn good. 7 4s across the board, 7 stamina on his front, 8 stamina on his back. Only the strong remain really makes him that much more durable, doesn't it? Like healing 1 damage every single time he is attacked. If he suffers damage, he gains, he heals 1 back. It's got a lot of pretty cool things, Quinn. It's got a lot of pretty cool things. What's your thought on Apocalypse? And I suppose now we have to think about Apocalypse in the realm of the new world with the new Crisis cards and everything else we've got, nerfs to some big characters that are in the game. How do you think Apocalypse is going to stand up and the Servants of the Apocalypse affiliation?
I think he's going to be relatively unweathered by the changes, given that Servants can go either way on the attrition runaway spectrum.
I love that's the spectrum of MCP.
That is the spectrum, like tracing or run away. I really love Apocalypse just from a design standpoint. He's very reminiscent for me to Strucker, simply because it's a leadership that is actually interesting and isn't a reroll, right? And
it's a very interesting leadership. Yeah, very interesting.
Plenty of ways you can do some interesting stuff with rerolls, but at the end of the day, it's you pick up a dice, roll it again. Right? Whereas this, you give out 4 new superpowers. He has superpowers. You've got an entire economy mechanic with the tokens that you generate. He's just real cool.
Yeah, and I think like you say, few things going for him. First of all, rule of cool always wins. I think the model's really nice. And to your point, his leadership is great. I think it's great in 2 senses, like you say. It's not a reroll, and it's not gain power for doing X. It's actually, introducing different mechanics to the game. And it also feels like Apocalypse. Like, we talk about this quite a bit, don't we? How some characters, even characters that can be really good. I think we used the latest version of Iron Man as an example. It's like, he's a really good character, but like, he doesn't, like, he's boring. Like, yes, he's got loads of good stuff, but he's boring. Whereas I think Apocalypse feels like Apocalypse, has a great leadership, and definitely isn't boring, and can be played, sort of as you alluded to there, Quinn, multiple different ways because of the different characters and extra superpowers that he has access to. He does have a couple of cards, Quinn. So he's got a couple of tactics cards. He's got Immortal Servants, where Apocalypse may spend 3 power this card during his activation. You remove 2 damage from Apocalypse and other allied characters within 2 of him. So, it becomes a sort of a mini We Are Groot. Or he can use this when he's attacking or defending. And basically it's a recal, isn't it? But recal, does recal roll failures? It doesn't, does it? So it works in exactly the same way as recal. This is fine. I don't feel like it's a stapled card to him, Quinn. I don't know your thoughts on it.
I think a lot of like Apocalypse players do run it relatively often. I think it generally depends on squad makeup, whether you have enough like character cards to put in to fill the gaps, or whether that just ends up being your best option given the crisis layout.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a 10th card and you're like, oh, recal, like you may, like there is never a reason to take recal over this card, for example, is there? Because this is just going to give you more flexibility and more options. His next card then, Quinn, is the first one, which I think we both agree, whilst it's probably not the better of the 2 cards, it's the most fun. So Apocalypse may choose 4 power to play his card. Choose an allied character. The allied character is KO'd. Remove 1 activator token from Apocalypse. If the chosen character was injured, Apocalypse gains the stagger special condition. Now, one thing we didn't note about Apocalypse were his immunities: bleed, incinerate, stun on his healthy side, everything on his injured side. So ideally, if you are going to play this, you want to play it once Apocalypse has already been dazed. But I just like this. Like, again, the thematic part of like, actually, you're going to die now, so I can go again, is pretty cool. But again, I don't feel like this is a super competitive card, Quinn. I don't know if you'd agree.
Not particularly, but it is a fun card, so it gets bonus points for that.
Bonus points for fun card. Rule of cool, Quinn. Rule of cool often wins out, doesn't it? So, Quinn, overall, what are our thoughts on Apocalypse? I'm going to let you go first on this one, and then we'll sort of take it alternative from there.
I think he's really sort of good example of interesting and fun design. Also pretty viable, if only in his affiliation. I also think with the 6 threat characters, the scale is going to shift a little bit from A being like splashable tier and very good in affiliation tier to being just solid all-rounder that is good in affiliation. Just
absolutely.
That's kind of... Like, higher threat characters are less likely to be splashed unless you're doing something weird with them.
Unless you're Hulk.
And I think because that, he goes in A, right?
I mean, I would agree. I think, again, he's a lead that ticks the boxes. He can, change up his play, or you can change up your play style. I would say Apocalypse is there's an extra process you have to go through, isn't there, when you're playing Servants of Apocalypse? Because I do think that's the only place for him. I don't think you
do not splash Apocalypse. I have
as you found out. But there is that extra process, isn't there, where you're like, okay, not only do I have to work out my threat level, I've then got to work out who is taking what cards, and that impacts greatly like what you're taking and what you're doing. So I would say a higher skill cap character, both with the decision making and with what you're going to take in each situation. But I think if you can master that, and we've seen some great examples of differing play styles, haven't we, with Apocalypse? I think he can be really, really good. So yeah, I think A is perfectly fine for him. And Aquin is 4, because we can't forget the game. Age of, indeed. Age of Apocalypse. Frank Castle up next, Quinn. Cosmic Ghost Rider. I've actually played a couple of games quite recently with CGR. I think the nerfs were fine. Like, I actually think after playing him, he feels like a more balanced character now. I still think he's very good, but you know, he definitely feels more balanced. Where he doesn't feel balanced is when your opponent dazes him and he comes back with a big dumb hero token under Guardians, because 5s across the board with a 7 dice builder is pretty brutal for your opponent. But yeah, medium move, large base, 9 stamina on his front, drops down to 7 stamina on his back. I think he's solid, but I think you're only now really playing CGR, even though he's part of Black Order and Guardians. I very much see him as just a Guardians character. You're not seeing him in almost every roster that somebody builds, which is good. That's healthy, right?
Don't even think he is in every Guardians roster.
Like, no, he's not.
Because of how wide an affiliation Guardians is, they can very easily afford to just splash a better 6th threat, in my mind.
Well, I also think now with Thanos changing, and we'll talk about Thanos in a little bit effect, I think he's going to be our last character that we go through. Was it 15 threat or 17 threat, whatever it was, you know, Thanos, Ghost Rider, Star-Lord, that could do some real damage. You know, having rerolls on both of those characters is brutal. I think with that going away now, I think it's probably reduced the options for Guardians to actually play tall, because Star-Lord's a bit of a weak link in there. So yeah, I mean, you generally want to go very wide with Guardians. You know, they've just had Nova released, which is, you know, another 5 threat who is fairly handy, to say the least.
Yeah.
They've also started to get some really interesting 4 threats as well, Quinn. You know, they've always had some pretty good ones with Ronan, Gamora, Bill. Now they've got Yondu as well. Actually, they're almost going into that mid-range rather than that super wide affiliation.
Oh, you mean Yondu with his magic arrow?
Yondu's magic arrow, yeah. I was very drunk when I read that card.
Yeah, you were.
But yeah, Quinn, I think, you know, Hellfire Blasters is a pretty good attack. You know, I think the changes to CGR have done the right thing. That means he's viable. He's just not broken and seen everywhere. You know, he's still got some good stuff in his kit, right? Chains of Sitarak is still really nice. That Hell Cycle, spend X to place Y, like, is really, really good. And I think moving his power economy into the cleanup phase just means he's not that aggressive and able to do stupid things turn 1 like he could before. He does have some tactics cards, Quinn.
Whoa.
One of them's his own. It's time travel, don't ask. Spend 5 and lose your, what is it, token? Psychosis token. Advanced medium, and then if you secure an objective, you gain 1 VP. Like, okay. But it happens after the VPs have been scored, so you can't even
you can't
negate scoring from your opponent. Yeah. Like, It's not a very good card. Don't ask. And then his other one, Servants of the Titan, just again isn't very good. During his activation, any number of Black Order characters may spend a power. For each power spent, roll a die. For each hit crit wild, Ghost Rider deals a damage to an enemy within 3. For each failure or block, Cosmic Ghost Rider suffers 1 damage and gains a power. Like, it's fine, but I don't think CGR and Black Order are a great mix. I think there are definitely better options to take with Thanos in Black Order. So yeah, I mean, if we were talking 12 months ago, Quinn, maybe even a little bit longer, that he would have been S tier, broken, change him up. I personally think the changes, a bit like any other character, if things are built around him and things go his way, he can be A tier, but I think realistically, he's probably B. Like, I think he's fine. Like,
I
absolutely
agree with
fine.
Like, given that he's only really seen in one affiliation, and in my opinion, isn't even always taken in that affiliation, like, I think B is perfectly reasonable for him.
Yeah,
I think if Guardians didn't have as many affiliated characters and he was still in that situation, he'd be in C.
But he is still played.
Because he's just priced out by the vast variety of options that Guardians have, I think it's fine for him to stay in B.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, excuse me. I agree. And B is for?
Baby Thanos.
Baby Thanos, yes. He did try go back and murder him, didn't he?
And then, I swear, like, he just couldn't kill him because he just kept moving out of the way or something. I don't know.
I've got hiccups. I don't actually know the storyline, but I only discovered the storyline through MCP. So ultimately, he went back to kill him. He couldn't do it for whatever reason, so adopted him and tried to raise him good.
Maybe that's what he did. I don't know.
Who knows? Okay, next up, Quinn, we have got Kalark, aka Gladiator. His pack being the cause of the rant. Not the reason, but the initial spark. 4/5/4, 9 stamina on his front, 9 stamina on his back, Quinn, which I think makes him like the 3rd highest stamina character in the game. Because you've got the 2 Hulks.
How much health does Dormammu have?
Isn't it 10/8? Which would be equal. Which would be equal to.
Yeah, Dormammu is 10.
If you're on Jarvis, you go to the bottom corner to flip them over. It's very strange.
It's then equal to be. No, Dormammu's 10/12, mate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, still bad. Even so, very high stamina pool. Very, very high stamina pool. His Praetor Punch is pretty good, especially it being range 3. That's really nice.
Yeah.
His Incinerate Beam is, again, or his I-Beam, sorry, that does Incinerate. Maybe less so with the lack of maps down the middle now. I think, beam attacks have maybe lost a little bit of potential potency.
I think given like the pseudo charge that he has, it's not quite the same as it is for other beam characters who maybe lack a bit in terms of other movement.
Yeah, fair, because he can do a For the Emperors, can't he? And then make a move, do a Praetor Punch, and then follow up with a beam. Yeah. So yeah, any beam character that has an action economy for movement is always going to find themselves in a better position, aren't they? Magister's Might, strength 5, range 3. Sorry, strength 10, range 3, costs 5.
No, it's strength 5, cost 10. Yeah. Great ability.
Stagger and a throw on a wild.
I'd have liked one of them to be guaranteed.
Yeah, I feel like the throw.
For 5 power, that's a lot.
I feel like the throw, and obviously they have to balance all of his attacks, don't they? Because of those confidence tokens that he has.
Yeah.
Let's round out that bit, and then we'll talk about what those tokens do. So, Imperial Authority, size 4, within range 2, terrain throw, like
It's long, which is nice.
It is long, yeah. I feel like if you're spending power on him, you're probably using it for his quote, his charge rather than the throw, but it's fine. So let's talk about these confidence tokens then, Quinn. So he can have a maximum of 5, and what they do is basically add 1 die to each attack roll that he has. You don't spend them, do you? So you don't consume them, you just get them. So if you've got 1 confidence token, his Praetor Punch becomes 7 dice. That beam becomes 6 dice on every single attack. Now, how does he get them? How does he lose them? Well, he has 2 ways of being able to get them. Actually, 3 ways when we include his tactics cards. Every time he deals damage with a Praetor Punch, he's going to get a confidence token. But when he is attacked, when he suffers any damage, so that would also be from things like bleed. That would also be things like anything from... we spoke about that new crisis, didn't we, where you can ping somebody for 1 damage. So anytime he takes any damage, he will lose a token. But for the Empress and Empire, this is a sneaky way of him being able to gain 2, because he gets to do a move, a Praetor Punch, which, if it does damage, will generate 1 from the Magister's Bravado. But this specifies that he gets to gain a confidence token if it does damage. And I believe they just stack Quinn, right? He gets to get 2 for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Which, then following that up all of a sudden with a 8 dice Praetor Punch is pretty good. He also gets an extra power during the power phase, Quinn, with his Alpha Strontian physiology?
Alpha Strontian?
Strontian. Because he's a beefy guy, he gets an extra power, basically. Nothing changes on the flip side of his card. He is identical. Interestingly, Quinn, Gladiator is unaffiliated, which I suppose the only real place he could have gone with the teams that we have at the moment is Guardians.
Yeah.
And my word, 5/6/5 with a big dumb hero token and rerolls feels like it would have been a little bit too good.
Yeah.
A little bit too good. Let's have a look at his tactics cards, Quinn, because I think he's got some 2 that are viable, but 1 that's viable, 1 that I think is really good. So Praetor of the Imperial Guard. During his activation, he may pay 4 power, choose up to X other allied characters, where X is equal to the number of confidence token Gladiator has. Each chosen character gains 2 power. That's is very awful. Situational. Like I'm sure there'll be a niche area where it could work and it'd be amazing. But the reality is, yeah.
In order for this to be in any way worthwhile, you need like 3 confidence tokens in my mind.
Yes.
Because then your power, like your net gaining power. And sure, there might be a situation where like he's beat the crap out of someone and has a bunch of power on him, and he's like, "What? Get rid of it." But,
yeah, it does specify other allied characters as well, doesn't it? So he can't choose to give 2 power to himself. So, and then we've got Protector of the Empire, Quinn. I really, really like this card. This is basically when another allied character is dazed or KO'd, he may pay 3. Gladiator may advance medium toward the enemy that caused the effect, then makes a Praetor Punch against it. If this attack dazes or KOs the enemy character, after the attack is resolved, Gladiator gains 1 confidence token. So again, he's going to be getting the 1 that he would get from the Praetor Punch if it does damage, and then an extra 1 for the confidence token. I really like this. really, really like this.
It's decent. I don't think it's incredible by any means.
No. It's not incredible, but I feel like if I'm
Also,
playing Gladiator, I'm playing this.
given the new map layouts as well, and like the just erasure of ease, I think it goes down in stock before it even had stock.
Before it even
Really.
before it was even released. Yeah. I saw people go mad over Gladiator Quinn. Oh, he's so good. He's amazing. It's like, I actually think he's a perfectly balanced.
He's very well balanced. The fact that like any instance of damage knocks a token off him is really, really big.
Yeah.
Because this dude cries in a corner when he sees a 2-threat called Bullseye.
Absolutely.
How are you?
Do your Bullseye impression again? That is exactly how Colin Farrell played him in the Daredevil movie, wasn't it?
He carried it over into his Penguin performance. Yeah, I'm the Penguin. Yeah.
His Penguin performance was
So
amazing.
good.
Dearie me. But yeah, I don't see anything, Quinn, on him where you're like, yeah, that is busted. Like, don't get me wrong, if you don't deal with him and you ignore him and you let him get to 5 confidence tokens and he annihilates your entire board, I don't think you have any right to complain and say that Gladiator is too good. You've done it to yourself.
What I will say as well is I think that's kind of the point of him, is, to use a term from another game, he's a bit of a distraction card effects.
Yep.
Like, he is this big stompy thing that you put in the middle of the board and your opponent diverts attention into a 4/5/4/9/9 character. It's like, yeah, you're keeping his confidence tokens at bay, but how many attacks are you spending each turn to do that?
Yep. Because he is somebody that they're going to have to that you're going to have to deal with, right? You don't necessarily need to Deus or KO him. You just need to be chipping away, right? And there's so many ways to do it with explosive damage. As you say, he hates Bullseye. It's also worth noting that let's take something, for example, like a character that has a throw on their builder, right? Let's take Miles, for example. So if Miles punches him and does damage, he's going to lose a token. But then the throw at the back end of it, if that also does damage, he will lose another confidence token for that as well, won't he? Because they're 2 separate instances of damage. This guy hates bleed, like really hates bleed. So trying to get a bleed onto him, I think is pretty good. And I think it's those things that, yes, he can get stronger and stronger, but you as the opposing character can very easily chip away at that. And I would say that his, 2 power for a 5 strength beam 4, like, is fine, but we have to remember it's on a 6 threat. But if that all of a sudden is 2 power for a strength 7 beam, that really starts to hurt. And I gather, Quinn, because he increases his dice, is one of the reasons why he does have triggers for everything that he needs, because they become easier and easier the more dice that you're rolling. I think he's fine.
He's real cool. I like him.
Again, I love these characters, and not every character should have them, but I really enjoy these characters for the most part, that have their own inbuilt little economy that's outside of power. Like, I do quite like those characters. So yeah, I'll let you place him first, Quinn, and we can agree or indeed disagree.
He's A tier, right? Good, solid design. Has to be splashable because he has no affiliation. Like a decent card and a not very good card. And just, very interesting design overall, I think.
Yeah. Would you put him higher or below Apocalypse? Because I agree with A, but I'm wondering if we disagree on his sort of final placement.
I think below Apocalypse, simply because Apocalypse unlocks an entire faction and like can enable a bunch of other characters that maybe have, not had their time in the sun without his aid. Whereas Gally is just kind of a brick that you throw at things.
I agree. I think very, very different characters, right? There's not many affiliations that I can think of where you go, Gladiator doesn't really fit here, because he does a lot of everything, right? He's got good action economy, he's got decent attacks, but so he's a bit of a jack of all. Apocalypse is, hyper focused, one affiliation, could do multiple things, but I think if you put 100 hours into playing Apocalypse and 100 hours into playing Gladiator, you're going to learn and be able to have a higher ceiling with Apocalypse than you are with Gladiator, I would say. And Aquin is 4.
Arrogant.
He's very arrogant, isn't he? Most space-based characters aren't they? They have an air of arrogance about them.
Look, if you lived in an intergalactic empire and you were dealing with a planet full of monkeys that had barely managed to go to their moon, you'd be pretty you'd talk down to them.
Fair, yeah, fair. He does have a superiority complex, doesn't he? Anyway. The OG 6th next, Quinn.
My boy.
Albeit an updated version of the OG 6th threat. It is Bruce Banner Hulk. I can't imagine anybody watching these videos hasn't either played with or against a Hulk at some point in one of their games. He is just so good when played in the right way. Hulk's not that kind of character that is going to daze an entire enemy's team in one activation, which I think a lot of people coming into the game kind of want him to be. But he can do a hell of a lot, can't he, Quinn? Especially as he starts taking that damage and starts adding those dice onto there. Is worth pointing out, Quinn, he is the first character that we're coming to that does not have an injured side. So he's 20 stamina, and rather than flipping his card when he's dazed, he's just KO'd. Which means 20 stamina feels like a lot. 20 stamina
with no flip
is very different to, I would say, even 2 lots of 10. Because
I think he's in a much better place now than he was before the most recent errata, because that errata has done some work to nullify the kind of models that could just really hammer into him, right?
Yeah, I agree. Also, displacement on him as well. Yes, he's got a range 2 place for 3 power. But really, you want to be spending your power on keeping him alive with potentially, Hulk not puny banner, or strongest one there is, and just yeeting people and buildings into other people and buildings. He does get stronger the more damage he takes. I would say, Quinn, it's difficult to 20-0 a Hulk, but not impossible. But definitely harder now.
Impossible.
Yeah, definitely harder now.
I think I've already mentioned the errata. I also think new missions actually help his survivability quite a bit, because there's no E where the entire enemy team is just concentrated in one part of the board to beat the crap out of him, right?
Yeah, he's probably a benefactor of that, because he'll happily 1v2 most characters in the game. It's like you say, when you've got 4 characters and all they do is pounce on him. And, you get things like a Wakanda Forever card. You get things like the Midnight... I always forget... Siege of Darkness, isn't it?
Siege of Darkness, yeah.
They can very easily 20-0 a Hulk in a single turn. Whereas, as you say, now, the chances are is that he's not going to have 4 characters in range to be able to do attacks into him. So, yeah. He does have some tactics cards, Quinn.
Oh, boy.
Do you want to know what they are?
No.
We have got Agents of Smash, which I've seen you play this card before.
I've played it a couple times, but to be honest, I never even played it for like the damage of a size 5 building. I just did it because I don't like size 5s anywhere near the middle of the board. Especially if you're at an event and they've got like high tables and they've got like a big
and you
stupid
can't
building
see
on
over
them.
the other side.
I can't see over them. So I'm just getting rid of it.
But yeah, spend 3 each, so 6 power in total, which is a lot. But I believe it is the only way in the game to be able to throw size 5 terrain. I believe
terrain.
This is it. And it's a long throw. And you get to choose from either or, whether it's Hulk or She-Hulk. Now, the big downside to this card, Quinn, is you have to take She-Hulk.
She's a character in this game. Ooh.
Yeah, interesting. It doesn't have to be one of their activations, does it? Which is quite nice. But I think, in reality, with just where She-Hulk is at the moment, this isn't a card you're going to see a hell of a lot, and probably not at all in any sort of competitive format. Anger Management, Quinn. This is an Avengers card where you can spend up to 5 power to do up to 5 damage to Hulk, and he gains that much power.
Oh yes, I want to quarter kill my own model for the cost of a tactic card and 5 power on another character. Yes.
It's not very good, is it?
No, it's not, funnily enough. I think this would have been really interesting if you played it. It still had the same cost, and this will be one of our little redesign of things sections to make it actually viable. Keep it as it is, but you add the little kicker that the damage is removed at the end of Hulk's activation this round. So you get him mad, and then he calms down a bit. Because you're not actually hurting him, you're just riling him up.
Yeah.
But you have to do it not on his activation. So there is a threat that if your opponent can capitalize and do enough damage, in addition to the 5 you've just done to him, to take him out, he's down.
Oh, so what we say is during their activation, any non-Hulk Avenger can play this. Yeah.
I think that would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty good. Yeah. It's just not very good in the way that it is.
At the moment it's terrible.
But, yeah. And then... Oh, Gamma Launch. Yeah, they changed this and ruined it, didn't they?
I mean, I wouldn't say they ruined it. I'd say they balanced it, and in balancing it, made it unplayable.
Which I would argue is ruining it. Hulk used to be able to throw Thor into the middle of the board during Thor's turn. So the big problem with Gamma Launch now is it has to be during Hulk's turn. So
if it didn't cost all the power he starts the game with, I think it might be more viable.
Yeah.
If it was 2 power to do it, and he could then still move up and grab an extract or whatever, maybe.
What about if it also had... Because, why can't he throw Thor into a character? Just into somebody.
In the placement, in base contact with them, they take damage. Or, it becomes a collision, but it's not like a pounce collision where the person getting thrown doesn't take the hit.
No. They get throws. You want to yeet a Juggernaut and use a Juggernaut as your attack? Go for it. But I also think it wouldn't follow the same rules as throw, because in my head it goes over like this. So I don't know. Just like you say, make it cost 2. That would be better. But yeah, not a card you see played very much, because you did used to see it quite a bit when you'd have Steve 1, Thor 1 and Hulk, and you would just yeet Thor into the middle of the board during Thor's turn, and he would just rip and tear. But yeah, alas, no more. So back to the main man himself, Quinn. Where do we think? I suppose actually it's my turn first. I think Hulk is A tier. I think there's a reason why. I think there's a couple of reasons why he's one of the most splashed 6 threats in the game consistently. Like, yes, here and there people might have come up and, Thor for a while was being splashed in places, but you've consistently seen Hulk over the past 4 years, 5 years of this game. You consistently see him turn up since his errata. Since his errata.
Yeah, which is 4 years, I think, now.
Yeah. I think he's A. I personally would put him at the top of A, but I'm happy to be.
I think he is top of A simply because he's just very good at what he does. He's a linchpin in his affiliations, let's be honest. And I think he's never really, as you said, fallen out of style. Like,
no.
You've always got a use for Hulk because, oddly enough, for a character like the Hulk, he's a scalpel. It's just that scalpel is the size of a katana.
It's a big old scalpel, isn't it?
He's got big hands.
And Aquin is 4?
That's his secret cap. He's always
angry. There we go. Hulkbuster next, Quinn.
D to move on. What would I think? It's a really cool model as well.
Oh, I mean, it's up there with one of the nicest models in the game.
Didn't you spend ages doing like non-metallic metal on yours as well, and then give up partway through?
Yeah, because I've
never. Of how bad he was in game.
Now he does have like, he's got some redeeming qualities to his card. I actually think as a character, he's not that bad. Let's ignore his leadership for the moment, but his heavy repulsor blast, right? I love the fact that if it deals damage, its power equal to damage dealt. But if it doesn't deal damage, he gains a power. Like, we've never seen that before. And it's a guaranteed push away any size. Like, that's not a bad builder at all. Meteor Punch is fine, especially denying power to your opponent. Like, it's fine. I do like the throw on there. And the explosive, I just wish they were the other way around. Like, I wish the throw was before damage and the explosive was after, because then
you could set up a better.
You could throw them and then they explode. I also just think you could take off if it deals damage. Like, I just think you can...
if you're getting hit by a meteor punch, even if you're blocking it, you're getting launched, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hit and run, like, it's fine. It's always going to be a lesser version of charge, right? Charge is always going to be better, or in most cases going to be better. Now I'm mad. Fine, like, it's size 4 medium. What did Gladiators cost? Was Gladiators 2
3
power?
No,
it is 3 power. But it's long rather than medium. So,
yeah. I also feel like this could have been a character throw. And I know this is always the thing of, we see a terrain throw, we want it to be a character throw because they're much more useful. But, like, for a Hulkbuster, like, he tosses... Like, it's Hulkbuster. He should be able to toss people about. Like...
Yeah. And then built to take it, spend 1, reduce the damage dealt by 1, and it is down to 0. So,
but you have to prepay it, which is kind of gross.
Yeah, again, I think that should just be a pay it. I just think that should be not a prepay. I think that would be better.
I think it should just be built into his card. Like, You just make that like an innate superpower. Make it minimum 1. Minimum 1 can't be pushed by attacks.
Yeah, maybe.
Perfectly fine.
Let's get on. We'll talk about the enhanced support systems first of all. And I think this for me is one of the big failings of this. So basically what happens when Hulkbuster is dazed, he doesn't flip his card. He essentially transforms. So
he poops out Baby Iron Man.
He poops out Baby Iron Man. And the new Iron Man is now part of your squad. And then during the power phase, he gains an extra power. So let's take a look at Baby Iron Man. 223 as a stat line is just real bad. And basically, Quinn, for this side of the character, the whole idea is that you get to, is it 10 power, I think? Yeah, you get to 10 power and you come back as the Hulkbuster, don't you? Have you ever seen anybody do it?
No. I don't think anyone, including the playtesters, has ever seen anyone do this. Unless your opponent is actively trying to help you do it, you're not doing it.
Yeah. Like, 5 stamina, 225 just means that this character then becomes priority target number 1. Like, and it's rough. Because let's say, does he lose all his power when he flips? He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So he's starting the game. So he's starting at 0 power, right?
He's got a rapid fire repulsor thing, but it's on a wild. So he can gain 4 power at most in his turn.
During his turn, yeah. And then he's only got 5 stamina, meaning he can only take up to 4 damage to gain an extra 4 power. And then he has to survive an entire new round to be able, like, I think they could have done something a little bit more interesting with this. I think first of all, he could have been 3s across the board to make him that little bit more survivable.
Like, no Iron Man suit should ever be a 2 in anything.
Because this is still he's still in the proper Iron Man suit. He's just in an even bigger one after.
In a suit.
Well, we'll get onto that in a minute. I also think, again, it's an Iron Man suit. Reduce the amount of damage taken by 1. Like, just to give him something to be able to get there. I also think you could always have a backup to 8, but it can't be used again. Because in my head, he might have 1 spare Hulkbuster suit, but he's not going to have 3 or 4 or 5 of them in total. And I think just making him that little bit more survivable, decreasing the requirements ever so slightly, and I think it would be better. But as it stands, you just never get to bring the Hulkbuster back, which was the whole idea of this character. And if you could do that, I think it would make it a lot more viable. Let's talk about the leadership, Quinn. Because
somebody had a really bad game against Mags.
Yeah. When an allied character would suffer damage from a collision, reduce the amount suffered by 1. Now, it's not to a minimum of 0. Sorry, to a minimum of 1. But, I mean, this is fine as, like, the kicker bit on the bottom of another leadership.
Of an actual leadership, yes.
Because, and I'm gonna quote AMG themselves, right? They didn't put one of the new crisis cards in this game because they said it relied so heavily on a pay to flip or a secure that you can interact with that ultimately it became useless and they didn't want to have that experience in the game. Hulkbuster's leadership, if you come up against a team that does no throwing, is useless. So why have it in the game? This could have been anything, and then this is the kicker at the bottom. But it needs to be something else, doesn't it?
I mean, I think this is one of the characters that's screaming for a full revision the most, right?
100%.
And there are a number of things you could do. First of all, you make him like 5'4", 3", because it's the Hulkbuster. It should have 5 physical.
Yep.
You drop that stamina down to like maybe 8 or 9. You make the damage reduction inbuilt.
Yep.
Minimum 1. Also, can't be pushed by attacks. I would like to see hit and run go, and instead you give him just an ability that's always on, where after every attack he gets a range 2 place because it's like bouncing around, right? You have the whole poop out baby Iron Man thing still be a thing. You make baby Iron Man probably just as easy to kill as he is right now. Maybe give him an extra dice on physical and energy.
He needs an extra dice on physical and energy, I would say.
So what you do is, rather than have it be like, oh, spend 10 power, get the thing back, you have it so, if he survives a round, Hulkbuster comes back in the cleanup phase. But it has to be that version of Iron Man that's activated that round. It can't be the Hulkbuster that activated, he poops out, you get Hulkbuster back. It has to have had an activation. Hulkbuster comes straight back down. If the Hulkbuster goes down again, Hulkbuster's dead. Job done.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think that is perfectly reasonable. And
I think eight stamina is a little low. I think
because you're getting it back for no actual investment, and it's got damage reduction, and he's 5'4", 3" in my version, you can get away with it.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, something, and then a leadership, right? Just give him a real leadership.
Give him an actual leadership. If you really want to pander to Rich, which AMG definitely don't want to do, and I don't suggest they do, you make him immune to bleed, because apparently a man in a suit is immune to bleed for some reason.
Why would he be immune? Why would he not be immune to bleed?
Because he's still a man. Doesn't matter how many suits he's in, he's still a man. He can bleed.
He's a man in a suit. Oh, dearie me. It's my turn to go first, I believe. You, me, me.
Turn.
Actually, it's you. Yeah.
I mean, I already said at the start of this character review where he was going. He's going in D2. He's the. I'm going to say it, worst 6 threat in the game. Worst 6 threat plus in the game. I think he's worse than Dormammu.
I agree. Again, I mean, we find this a lot, Quinn, don't we, with characters we put in D tier. Like, this actually feels like Hulkbuster, but it's just great idea. In reality, poor execution, because you just can't get off the thing in the game that makes it viable. Like, if you were almost guaranteed to be able to get him to come back every game, it'd be so much better. But again, I've personally never seen it happen. Now, it's also fair to say, Quim, I think I can count on 2 hands, maybe even 1 hand, the number of Hulkbuster games I've seen and partaken in. So it's probably a very small sample pool, but
2 of them were against me, I believe.
Yeah.
One we streamed, which was embarrassing, and then the other was with New Asgard, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was grim.
That doesn't go well. But yeah, he does have a card. He does have a card.
What would he do?
Hulk. Oh no, it's actually. Oh well, he can use.
He can use Stark Armory.
Yeah, he can use Helios and Stark Armory, can't he? Are the two
Helios
that he
can't
can use.
exist.
Oh, and Overcharge, as well.
Great.
There you go.
He's missing the best Iron Man card, so who cares?
He is. He is. Yeah. Needs, again, probably Quinn, I would say, high up there as like top 5 characters in the game that need a rework and make them viable.
I think he's the only character on this list that needs a full rework as well. Like, the other characters that are, like, almost as bad can do with just a few tweaks. And probably there.
Well,
like, this you need to change multiple abilities.
And I would argue that every character in this list has had their day in the sun. He never, maybe with the exception of one, right? Dormammu. But he never has, right? No. He never, ever has. So yeah, D tier feels like the right place for him. Blackagar Baltigan next. Sorry.
You put some respect on the Alphabet Games name. It's the only reason people are here, all right?
Sorry,
Quinn. See these stupid little alphabets. Now ask me the damn question.
And Quinn, D is for?
Dormammu tier.
Dormammu tier. Yeah, he's going to be below Dormammu. King Black Bolt, a.k.a. Blackagar Baltagon. Amazingly, still not the most ridiculous name in Marvel.
No, I think it is. Like, Benjamin Poindexter's bad, but it's not Blackagar Baltagon for the guy named Black Bolt bad.
Yeah, it is pretty bad, isn't it?
Like, Blackagar Baltagon is what someone threw out there as a joke name, and it just... right, it's exactly like in Avatar, right? It's unobtainium.
Unobtainium, yeah.
Blackagar Baltagon and unobtainium are the same level of dumb name.
Fair, absolutely fair. Let's talk about him, Quinn, because he is brand new. We did already break him down in a video, but
you did. I didn't.
You didn't. No. So see what you're. I think I invited you, and you said no. I'm painting or playing Marvel Rivals or something like that.
That does sound like me, doesn't it?
It does sound like you a lot, yeah. 4s across the board, Quinn. 7 stamina, medium move. He's on a medium base, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah, medium base.
Yeah. Goes from 7 on his front up to 8 on his rear side or on his day side. Sonic Blast. This is pretty good. A beam 4 as a builder with a push on a wild on every single one of them. And he can add dice to it. So he can spend 3 power for increase the volume and turn this into a 7 dice builder, Quinn. Which, you know...
Whoa, 7 dice gainer. 7 dice gainer.
Gainer, sorry. Yeah, gainer. Which probably on average will do more damage across more characters and give you the power. That increase the volume should ultimately be free, right? Because you're going to do this to at least 3 characters.
If you do it to 3 characters, it's free, and like you're doing shit tons of damage.
Yeah. Wrath of the Midnight King, strength 4.
One of the coolest names for a spender in the game?
It might be.
Like, it's pretty good. Like, Wrath of the Midnight King has serious aura.
Yeah. Cost 4, strength 8, range 3. Advance medium, and so after you do it, advanced medium, before damage is dealt on a wild, throw the target character short. Omnidirectional, Quinn. Omnidirectional is always nice. Increase the volume we've already gone through. Hit and run, we know what it does. Telepathic command. Choose another allied character within 4. That target character advances short, used once per turn. Like, it's all right.
It's nice that it's not on someone who's already gone.
Yeah. Obviously, he's an inhuman, Quinn, so he gets to reroll 1 die in attack and defense. And then anti-graviton control. When this character would suffer damage, reduce the amount of damage suffered by 1 to a minimum of 1. Additionally, he gets an extra power during the power phase. And then even though he isn't a leader, Quinn, he does get his own little inbuilt leadership. And it is a great use of tags, almost as if tags could really, really help with what you do in this game. At the start of the activation phase, you may choose one allied character with the inhuman innate superpower. The chosen character removes one special condition. Flight, immunity to poison. So overall, Quinn, I quite like him. I think he's pretty good.
He's got one big issue, hasn't he?
Go on.
His name's Black Bolt. Or sorry, his name's Blackagar Boltagon.
Well, and this is his biggest problem, isn't it? Because
it basically makes him unplayable in his affiliation.
It depends.
You've got options, but you're not taking them.
It does depend, doesn't it? He is not. This is not like the 6-threat version of what Thor was, where it was like, old Thor is never seeing play again. Original Black Bolt has two things going for him. First of all, he's a very, very good character. Now they've changed him around. He has arguably one of the best, if not the best, leadership in the game. Which makes playing this guy very difficult. It also means you're going to have to play with either Maximus, who, like, his leadership, giving, essentially having 2 rerolls is really good. But if you do reroll into that fail and you are placed, so you are no longer on a point, his that leadership is probably the only leadership in the game that can lose you a game, right? Because it's forced upon you, and you have to be moved. So that's a little rough. He does have some cards, Quinn. He's got
Does he have some cards, or does Black Bolt have some cards?
Black Bolt has some cards, doesn't he?
Here we go with his name, Blackagar Boltagon issue again.
Yeah. Well, actually, he only has 1 card, or access to 1 card. During the power phase, if you have at least 2 fewer VPs than your opponent, an allied Blackagar Boltagon may play this card. You gain 2 VPs. This round, this character cannot make attack actions. Now, I would actually argue, Quinn, and say that this version of Black Bolt really wants to be making attacks, because he can't really do anything.
Like it's the only thing he does.
It like, that's his thing. There is an argument to say that the other version of Black Bolt is a better target for this card, because he can do other things, right? He can take the hits for people. He has another job on the board.
Game function, in the form of having the leadership, right?
Yeah, leadership. He's got his bodyguard that he can do. Yeah, this, and it's not like this Black Bolt is bad. He's not. If the other version didn't exist, this would be really good. But we have to take into account you can only play one of them, and you are giving up an amazing leadership.
Yeah. I'd also say he doesn't really have that much splash potential, in my opinion. Like, for a 6-threat, you're investing a lot, and there are better 6-threats, let's be honest.
Well,
like, outside of affiliation, there are much better 6-threats than him you could be splashing. I think, and I know this is going to be a little dangerous sounding, given that we've just had the end of the reign of Tyrant King Thor. It feels like maybe they didn't go far enough with this version of Black Bolt, and maybe he should have been like a 7 or an 8 threat and been like real scary.
Yeah. Yeah. It needed to be it needed to be good enough to not take the other version. And I don't know if this is. Now, don't get me wrong. There will be people that will play the different version. They'll play Maximus as the leader.
Or
They'll play Medusa as the leader. They'll take this version of Black Bolt. And I'm sure on the table, I mean, that increased the volume on his Sonic Blast. It's really, really, really good.
Affected by crisis changes, no more ease.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But he just, for me, he isn't doing enough or a big enough of a different character to displace the 5-threat version.
No.
And I think ultimately that he's like,
It kind of
he's
just leaves
obviously,
him dead in the water, right? Like,
yeah. And it's weird, isn't it? Because like obviously we spoke about how Hulkbuster needs a rework. Like Hulkbuster needs a rework and he's bad. King Black Bolt needs a rework,
but he's
but he's
good.
not bad.
Yeah.
Like he's good. So
Like,
it's
I'd also argue, like, you could probably fix some of the issues that King Black Bolt is facing by actually improving, like, Maximus and Medusa's leadership card. Like, if you make those other if you make the other leader options compared to Black Bolt more viable within Inhumans, you therefore increase the viability of this character in Inhumans to the point where
yeah.
it might actually make sense for you to take him over 5-threat Black Bolt.
Yeah. It's it's also difficult as well because he isn't a leader.
Yeah.
Like
It's a big investment for a non-leader character, and it doesn't feel like he gives you enough.
yeah.
Like, compare this guy to, like, Hulk, who you could splash in just as easily, if not easier, because then you could still play old Black Bolt. Like,
Gladiator. Are you
yeah.
really like if you were just looking at his card and what he does, is King Black Bolt better than Gladiator? No. Yeah, it's rough, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
really rough. It's really, really rough. This might annoy a lot of people. I think he needs to be a threat higher, as you said, 7 threat, absolute beast, and give you a real reason to not take the original Black Bolt. I think the 1 threat difference just isn't enough.
I would also like if they doubled down on the Inhuman King angle and made it so he was effectively like half a leader in and of himself,
Yeah,
just to supplement people like Maximus and Medusa.
yeah. This I didn't think it was going to be, but this is a really, really difficult one to rank with. In my head, I'm thinking he's somewhere bottom of B, top of C. And it's not because he's a bad character, it's because the other version of Black Bolt exists. And you have to take that into account.
Yeah, and I think
Because
it's an important lesson in like how impactful having another character with your name can be. And we've
yeah,
had like several examples of this over the series, like Black Widow, right?
yeah.
There are others, but they're struggling to come to mind. But like I think this might be one of
Killmonger.
Killmonger.
All of the Wakandans.
I think that this might be the single biggest case of that, though. Like, this is rough.
Yeah. By Black Bolt existing, or original Black Bolt existing, with how good he is now. Like, don't get me wrong, if this was old Black Bolt, where it was an amazing leadership on a not very good character, this guy would be more like, he'd be, there'd be a real decision to make. I actually think as a character, original Black Bolt is better than new version. I really do.
He's got more going on. Like, this guy is full on beatstick, but he's not really that great a beatstick.
No.
Like, he's not single target damage, which isn't what he should be, but equally, there's a very fine line that AMG would have to walk in terms of having him do enough splash damage to suit the character and what you'd want him to do, and also not have him be an NPE.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd rather they come down on this side of that line than the other side of that line, given what the game has just gotten over in terms of Hero of Midgard. but
Yeah.
it does feel a bit grim for this model in particular.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll get play. You know, I think people will play with him. He's shiny and new. I don't. I think the new characters that Inhumans have got access to are really good. I think because of Black Bolt existing, this is probably the not the worst character in the box, because he's not, but he's the character I think that once the dust settles, he'll have the least play.
Viable character in the box, which isn't to say he's bad, it's just to say he's not going to see that much play.
So does he go in C tier because of that?
I think he goes in C tier because of that. I think, you know, without other Black Bolt existing, he'd have been straddling high B, low A. But because 100%. Of the impact that has, it drops him down into C for me.
Yeah, yeah. And he is only part of Inhumans, right? And maybe when the new affiliation comes out, right, the Illuminati, maybe this is the only version of, you know, and because you imagine that, right? They bring out an Illuminati affiliation. This is the version of Black Bolt that's allowed to be in it. All of a sudden, he's got a home.
Like, and then you also do the thing I've always wanted for Illuminati, which is you have a leadership card that can go in any of them and can transfer between them.
Yeah, goes around them. Yeah. So yeah, good, really good character, but just, you know, it's weird, isn't it? The character themselves is not the only mitigating factor in how viable a character is, and King Black Bolt is just on the receiving end of that. And Sequin is for?
It'll be for Sting's song at the end of Arcane Season 1, which is what could have been.
Okay, Quinn. My first love in MCP up next. Magneto, aka...
Wait, so it's Star-Lord dropping off Venom or something dumb? That was your first love.
I did used to like that. I have a lot of first.
Dropping off Venom.
It was Ultron dropping off Venom, yeah. But once I started playing properly, Brotherhood of Mutants.
Wait, you started playing properly?
A little bit, yeah. I should take a break. I need to take a break from this game, apparently.
It did you some good.
Magneto, aka Max Eisenhart, because that's how we all know Magneto.
Yes, his name definitely isn't Magnus.
Or Eric.
I always prefer Magnus. Magnus sounds right.
I prefer Eric. Anyway. No, but then you get Magnus the Magneto, which is very much Blackagar, Baltigan, Black Bolt, isn't it? Like, it's fair to say, Quinn, that this character has... I'm going to say he's fallen from grace. There was a period of time where Magneto Brotherhood was very good, and you could go and you could win events with it. Let's break down his card, Quinn, because it's probably been quite some time since we have. So he's 6 stamina on his front. Small base, short move. 3-3-6. Now the 3-3-6. He's essentially 6s across the board because of that force projection, so he can always use his Mystic to both defend or dodge. And then if he uses that 2 power for force projection, he can't be pushed or thrown. So I think 3-3-6 when you've got a bump like that, Quinn, especially one that works on dodges as well, I think is perfectly fine. Reverse polarity is not a bad attack as a builder. Like, you know, it's range 3. If they're outside of 2, you get to push them omnidirectional. If they're inside 2, you get to reroll any number of attack dice. Like, I think it's perfectly fine. Shrapnel Blast is a problem. Shrapnel Blast is not a particularly good spender. But where he is going to be doing most of his damage from is Fatal Attraction. Spend X, where X is power. 1-4, when paying the cost of this superpower, choose an interactive terrain feature within size 3, and its size can be equal to the power spent. So you can spend 4, throw a size 4 building. You can throw it long. You can do this as many times as you want in a turn, but it increases in cost every time you use it. So if you want to throw another size 4 building, well, you need 5 power to be able to do that. Master of Magnetism, he gets to generate his own terrain, essentially. So he gets to poop out a metal construct. He starts with 1, so you put 1 out at the beginning of the power phase. And these constructs are going to do, and you can have up to 2 out, but they're going to do 2 things. First of all, generate power for him. So he generates the 1 normal, plus 1 for each metal construct in play. And I believe Quinn in saying that each of the metal constructs themselves are individual sources of power. So
and
even if he's stunned, he still gets the 3 power per
That's
turn.
at least how it used to work. I don't know if they made a ruling on it recently, because there is something that's changed about him.
Who knows?
The forum probably knows.
Forum probably knows, yeah, whilst you're looking at that. But because he gets to generate that terrain every turn, means that you always have at least 1 source of terrain to be able to throw at people. And it's always in range because, you place it range 3. From the Ruins is his leadership. When a terrain feature is destroyed after the effect is resolved, choose a number of allied characters equal to or less than the terrain feature size. Each chosen character gains 1 power and may only gain 1 power as part of its leadership per turn. It's a pretty good leadership, Quinn, when you're talking about Magneto.
To get the ball rolling, that's pretty handy. Also, if he has stun, he gets 2 power in the power phase if both are out. Or if
so
one's
they
out.
are affected. So they are affected by it.
So they are affected, but they don't affect his initial instance of power gain simply for being a character in the game.
So that's it. So that he doesn't gain additional power, because if they gave him 1 additional power per turn, then stun would affect everything.
Yeah.
They to themselves are a separate source of power, aren't they?
However, it is a combined source between the 2 of them.
Yeah, I think that is actually how it's always been. I think I got it wrong.
No, because the forum post specifically says that it has changed.
Oh, okay, so they have changed it. All right. Okay, Quinn, it's fair to say Magneto isn't particularly viable anymore. He does increase to 8 stamina on his flip side. Right.
Rework time.
Yeah.
I have ideas.
Okay, let's get into these ideas.
First of all, I get it. He's a dramatic motherfucker. He likes to float around the place. He does not need to be a slow move.
No.
Just doesn't. Number 2, I want to change how the constructs work. I want to make them a really integral part of his character.
Ooh.
It also requires you to change his leadership. His leadership is just now, whenever an interactive terrain feature is destroyed, you get to give out a power.
That is correct.
Not power equal to.
No, it is.
No. As in, the new version is you get 1 power. Full stop.
Oh.
You don't get a power per thing destroyed.
Okay. But still works in yours and your opponent's turn?
Oh, yeah. Anytime anything's destroyed. You can also let it happen multiple times per turn, because it's a flat 1, but you make it so only 1 person can be affected.
Only 1 person, yeah, okay.
Every turn, he poops out both constructs, and you give him a couple different ways of getting them back. And you make them into a resource minigame for him, where he can destroy a construct, he gets to add dice to his attack. He can destroy a construct, he gets to add defense dice or count blanks in his defense roll. Anytime a piece of terrain is destroyed within, let's say, 3 or 4 of him, he gets a construct back. But he can't throw the constructs, because the constructs represent the things floating around him that he is using to both attack and defend. However, your opponent can still destroy them.
Okay.
They can throw. You let them throw them, but you don't let him throw them because he's using them in other ways.
So he's using them as a shield or to empower attacks. Or
maybe you still enable him to do it as his own thing, but you make them like size 1, so they're not really that attractive a prospect for throwing.
Interesting.
And you just make it into its own resource minigame I don't want to give him tokens because he doesn't have tokens in the box.
Yeah.
And that's always a thing I try and avoid with the reworks. But you make it like an intense little mini game of different, uses of the constructs. And obviously, a construct being destroyed does not trigger the creation of another construct. Maybe you make it so they're size 1, and it has to be something size 2 or greater that is destroyed to bring out another one mid-turn.
Yeah.
There you go.
I quite like that.
Think that'd be fun.
I think his Fatal Attraction can stay as it is. Like, that's a unique thing to Magneto.
That's a really cool throw. I like that that's how he does it.
I want to talk about Shrapnel Blast.
It's shit.
Like, it's so bad.
I think this could easily be replaced with, like, a spender that lets him throw a person. Because that is a thing that, he can do. It's just not something he always does.
He's a beefy guy, right?
Also,
like,
you want to see Magneto throw Wolverine across the board, right?
Yeah.
So you give him the ability to do it. There you go.
Like, I'd love to see, like, if this character has the adamantium, and I don't even know if there is the adamantium skeleton, isn't there? Yeah.
And like Colossus is metal. You've got to factor him in. Like you end up going down a rabbit hole that could maybe be solved by tags.
Yeah, and Bucky has an arm, and it's like, definitely in need of a thing. I think there's also no reason why you can't make him 8/8 with stamina. I think that's fine. 6 is very, very low for.
I think if you do some of the changes I suggested, like he can destroy a construct to count blanks on defense, that'd be pretty big for him.
Yeah, fair enough. And he can always boost them anyway, right? With this force projection.
Yeah, so like you pay the 2 for the boost and then you destroy a thing and it's like, 6 dice count blanks. Screw you.
Yeah. He does have some cards, Quinn. He's got 3 cards that he's part of, but really only 2 of them are his cards. Difficult to please. You've already spoke about it with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. I wouldn't mind a change to that.
Make it a bit easier to fulfill, maybe.
Well, again, I'm going to go back to AMG's own words. Like, if they're saying something is just too, isn't relevant, right? If you are playing something where, I suppose actually, no, they don't have everything's objectives tokens now, isn't it? Yeah, I'm just thinking about Quicksilver interacting with,
I would also say,
or picked up an objective.
The whole, if it can't be used, blah, blah, blah thing, doesn't really apply to a tactic card, because you can just not take it.
I know.
And leadership, very different thing in terms of Hulkbuster.
100%, 100%. But he has 2 cards. One of them you never see. The other one is pretty darn good. Magnetic Crush. Spend 5 power. Use the attack above once. This activation, so it's a range 4, strength 6. But when creating the dice pool for this attack, you may destroy any number of interactive terrain features, size 3 or less, within 2. Basically, you boost the dice.
You destroy terrain, you get more dice. There you go.
I think this can go away. I think with our rework of Magneto, this doesn't need to exist, because it feels like some of these things you're talking about, Quinn, are going to be incorporated into
You just incorporate it into the character rather than have it be a one-off card.
Yeah. But a card that is very good, very, very good. Magnetic Refraction. Magneto pays 2. Magneto gains cover this round. Allied characters gain cover while within 3 of Magneto this round. You look at that and you go, that's fine. But if your squad is using the Brotherhood of Mutants affiliation, if you're playing Magneto, you are using the Brotherhood of Mutants affiliation.
Yeah.
Return this card to your available team tactic cards during the cleanup phase. This card may be played again this game. And it's not just a once, it's an every round. This also works if Magneto is dazed as well, Quinn. Which is nice.
What I will say is, in my proposed rework, you add 1 additional cost to this. You have to eat a construct for it.
You eat a construct, yeah.
There you go.
Perfectly fine. But yeah, Magneto is in is in need of reworks. Again, I think he's a little bit different than Hulkbuster. Magneto's problem is the game has advanced.
The game has moved
he
past him.
hasn't.
He actually had time in the sun, unlike Hulkbuster.
Yeah. Is Magneto deserving of a D?
No.
He's really not, is he? He's going to be C tier.
Think he's
I don't know which way around it is.
I think they're kind of stacked on top of each other, right?
But for different reasons.
Yeah, I think we let Black Bolt go in front because he was there first.
Because he's the king. Yeah, it's sad. I would love a change to Magneto. So he was viable again. He is in Hellfire Club.
Whoop-de-doo.
Yay. And Cabal. I went back and watched one of my old videos, Quinn, and I was talking about why would
this guy who, survived the Holocaust is just hanging about with a Nazi? Yeah. Bit of a flavour fail there, AMG, not gonna lie.
Yeah, definitely. And Sequin is for?
Charles, no, not the Holocaust beam! You've seen that clip, right?
I have, yes.
It's so funny.
I have. Okay, we alluded to it earlier. She-Hulk up next, Quinn.
Jennifer, yay.
So, my preface of 6 threat leaders needing to be very good because they have great responsibility, unfortunately, not always great power. They're kind of the other way around, aren't they? She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters. She is another character that has a pool of 20 stamina and does not have an injured side. So she's going to work in exactly the same way as OG Hulk. The problem is she's not quite as good. Medium base, medium move, size 3, 3-4-3 defensively. Sensational uppercut, fine. White slugs, I gather it sort of dazes them when you uppercut them, I gather. And then defense rests, strength 9, cost 5, 3 range. If it deals damage after the attack is resolved, the target character gains slow and stun. If it already has the slow condition, it gains stagger. So there's that synergy between, punching them first and then doing the defense rests. Clear the court. This is fine, Quinn. Enemy character size enemy character or interactive terrain. 4 or less, throw it medium.
Her strength is truly immeasurable.
Yeah. Superior weight training. Spend 3. Add dice equal to the size of the target.
It's pretty good.
It's not bad,
most characters, turn your builder into a 9 dice. That's pretty spooky.
Yeah. Legal defense. When an allied character within 2 of this character is targeted by an attack, this character may use a superpower. This character becomes the target of the attack regardless of range and line of sight. It's just bodyguard, right? She has her own bodyguard. And then gamma transfusion. She's going to gain an extra power during the power phase. If she suffers damage from an attack, she gets to move short towards them. So she has aggressive. And then again, she doesn't flip a card. She's just KO'd and immunity to poison. Let's talk about her as a character first, Quinn, and then we'll get into the leadership. Feels like she's always had just a few things in her way, right? What was the card called where you could do back-to-back activations? You could be husband and wife. Follow me. She hated follow me because she could be 20-0'd in a single act or a single turn of a character. Again, she's a Hulk, 4 defense. I feel like should be physical.
Physical, is kind of just a blanket requirement.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to be a bodyguard character, you need 4 physical.
Yeah, 100%. there's nothing like bad on her card.
I'd like to see some little extra form of mobility off her, just because I feel like she's a bit less stomp in one place than Hulk, you know?
Yeah, she's a bit more agile, a bit more
Yeah.
athletic.
Like, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see the ranges on her attack swapped, and then you make her
Yep.
builder have, like, a pursuit on it.
Hmm.
Because then it enforces the synergy of going builder, spender even more, because you go builder, get in range, do spender.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I think that'd just be a fun little thing for her.
Yeah, I think I'm not.
For a big model like her, not having like a Gamma Leap-esque ability to give yourself mobility in your own turn means that you can just have a really dead activation. And that is not what you ever want from a 6th threat, is a dead activation. You don't want an activation where you go, move, punch.
I'm also
going to say 3
say
threats do. That is not what a 6th threat should do.
No. I'm also going to say I have an issue, I think I have an issue with her being the same design as Hulk and not having an injured side.
If she could flip, she'd be so much better as a bodyguard.
That and it's because she's a bodyguard that's the problem. Because you get to a point and you're like, yeah, do you know what? She's got 20 health left. I'll let her take the hit. If that spikes and does 7 damage to her, you're like, ooh, okay, this is problematic. There's also other problems with not flipping, because flipping does 2 things, right? Actually, it does a few different things. It gives you an opportunity to change the character up a little bit. So maybe she could come back angrier, right? And do, maybe she loses her bodyguard on her flip side.
I mean, maybe you make her a bit more like Black Bolt-esque, right? Yeah. Bodyguard on the front side, big, scary mega attack on the flip side.
Fighty on the back, yeah. But the other thing that a flip does is remove conditions. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with non-flipping characters is they stay on. And it's, you put a slow on her, you put a hex on her, and with how easy it is now to just, put a root on her, all of a sudden things starting to cost 4 power rather than 3 are pretty brutal. I think you could make her a 12-8, keep the same amount of stamina. The 12 side is the defense. So she's got, she is 4-4-3.
12-8 seems a bit big. 10-8.
Or whatever it is.
Take a little bit of stamina off if you're giving her a flip.
Yeah, 10-8, whatever it may be, but that's the bodyguard side, right? She superior weight training goes, right? That becomes add on this side, you can add, dice to your attack, dice to your defense, right? So she's a bulky character, but then on the flip side, she loses some stamina, superior weight training comes back, she loses the legal defense with the bodyguard and things.
I have an idea for a replacement for legal defense as well.
Oh, go ahead.
Objection. When an allied character is dazed or KO'd, this character may spend like 3 or 4 power, run in, beat shit out of them.
I like it. And I think that would make her not only interesting as a character, but far more viable as a leader and as a character in the game.
Because the leadership is all right, and the affiliated cards are incredibly good.
Oh, yeah.
A-Force have been held back for a long time by the fact that she is a subpar character to have as a leader.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, Defenders of Arcadia, when an allied character is damaged by an enemy effect, another allied character may gain 1 power. You may not gain more than 1 power from this leadership per turn. This is a great leadership, Quinn.
Yeah.
Really, really nice.
It's almost like reverse Black Bolt.
Yeah. Yeah. But you don't need, it's a power generator. So it's extra power that you're gaining. You don't need to have the power already, do you, to move it over? But I just think she needs changes, like quite fundamental changes to her card. And I really like the idea of the one half of her is like, it is that legal defense. She's protecting, she's trying not to do the doubt. Like she's the protector. She's not the aggressor. And then you daze her and she's like, absolute fuck this.
Well, because you go from defense to prosecution, right?
You do indeed. You do indeed. Let's have a look at the card she is part of, Quinn, which is an A-Force card, which is special delivery. With an A-Force character it's very good. With an A-Force character with flight begins a move action within 2 of She-Hulk. During its activation, they may spend 1 power each to play this card before moving the miniature. When this character ends this move, play She-Hulk within 1 of it. She-Hulk may immediately perform 1 of her attacks that has a listed power of cost 0. This is drop off, right? This is drop off. I would say, what options have you got character wise for this?
Crystal is the best one because she's a long move.
Yeah, is Angela part of A-Force?
Angela's also part of A-Force, but it's a lot of threat investment, and everyone knows Angela rolls bad.
She rolls the worst dice in the game.
Yeah,
like that's just how it is. So yeah, really, really good card. She's also got other A-Force cards are very, very good as well. She just needs a little bit of love, doesn't she? And I think that 2-sided card could really, really help. Where do we think she goes?
Just under Mags in my mind.
Yeah. Even though we're sort of talking about a full rework, she's not she's not Hulkbuster bad, is she? But she could just be better.
Yeah.
C is for, Quinn?
Quarter-pointed defender.
There we go. Okay, Quinn, so on to our last 6th threat, Thor, Hero of Midgard. This is obviously the recently nerfed version of Thor.
Yeah, you've got a fall from grace, and then you've got a fall from Asgard to Earth.
Yeah. So let's go through those changes first, Quinn, because I had people telling me that they were needed, they should be nerfed, he was too good, and I agree. He was too good. Actually, both of us, Quinn, when he first came out, when we just read his card, we were like, I still don't think he's all that good. And then when you play with him, we're like, oh my God, he murders things. So there's only been 3 changes to his card, and they're only numbers, okay? But the impact those numbers have are huge. So what's changed?
To quote Scott Steiner, the numbers don't lie.
The numbers do not lie. So Odinson's Ire, this is his builder. First of all, it's gone from a range 3 down to a range 2.
Yikes.
That is huge.
Cut in half.
Yeah. Yeah, and people think that, don't they? It's one number, but range 3 is double the range of range 2.
Yeah.
It's also gone down by a die. I believe this is now one of the worst 6th threat builders in the game, if not the worst. Yes, lightning arc, great, right? You get to do more damage to another character. Push, yeah, great, you get to do it.
You could have at least made the push unconditional. Give him throw the dog a bone. This is grim.
Yeah, or give him a throw, or just something, right? This is very, very bad. Very, very bad. So what does it do? Well, it increases the likelihood that he's going to have to move before he can make an attack. We've already spoke about how from turn 2 onwards, a 6th threat character really doesn't want to be doing that. Now, he does have at thee, Quinn. But that's where his other change comes in. It's gone from 3 up to 4 cost. Now, those 3 changes combined, I believe, have way over nerfed Thor. Like, I really, really do think. I think 2 of the 3 would have been fine, but only one of them on the builder. Only one of them on the builder.
I think this has broken one of the, for me, cardinal rules of balance changes, which is if you are taking with one hand, you must give with the other. You don't have to give equal amounts, but you have to give something. There has to be some kind of equivalent, not equivalent, but there has to be an exchange. You have to get something for having things ripped away from you. Yeah. And that could have been a throw on the builder. It could have been any
could have been a guaranteed. Could have been a guaranteed push, right? That could have been a guaranteed push.
Could have been any number of things. But to just take and give nothing, I think one will always leave a sour note on a character, regardless of whether you like them or not. I did not like Big Dick Thor. I didn't play the game while he existed. But even then, you can't just take and not give. It's a fundamental thing for me with balance changes.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And again, it kind of this is a great example of little changes, or what seem like very, very small, insignificant changes. Increase the cost of Have At Thee by 1. Great, if that was it in isolation, fine, right? That'd have been fine, because actually generating 1 extra power isn't that hard. But then what you've done by decreasing the number of dice that he rolls means you're decreasing his power generation potential.
Which then exacerbates the increase in power for the pounce. Yeah.
And, reducing the range, meaning that rather than getting to attack twice this turn, he only gets to attack once. So I believe they've gone too far.
I think you could have done exactly what you did to him, but you do you give him 2 things in return. Because you've taken 3 things away, you give back 2. Power of Thor becomes characters as well.
Yep.
Why would Thor not be able to throw a dude, right?
I agree.
I say the Knave villain becomes 2 power, goes down to 5 dice.
Yeah.
There you go. They're little things that you are giving him, but you are at the very least giving him something.
Yeah. 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 He's been, in my opinion, he has been over-nerfed. And
let's be honest, you're never playing him over Prince of Asgard. Prince of Asgard has an incredibly good leadership. He has a really good charge. He throws a fuck ton. He's got an area attack.
He's got a range 5 attack as well.
That gives out automatic shock, yeah.
Yeah, it's rough, isn't it? It's really rough. I think they've overdone it. Now, don't get me wrong, on the right setup. Well, and let's also talk about that as well, Quinn. New crisis cards really hurt him. There is no, because if this new version could guarantee he was always playing on an E map, he doesn't care. But they don't exist anymore.
Also, didn't Brothers in Arms get banned as well?
Oh,
not just restricted, but banned.
Brothers in Arms has been banned, which is another big
another nail in the coffin.
Yeah. So again, I'm with you, Quinn. It doesn't take much, does it, to just balance these things out? And I said it in the video yesterday. I'll say it again. It's characters like this that really make me question some people's ability to be able to test these games properly. Because how is a character... I understand a character that gets better over time because other things are released and bump them up. Things that they maybe couldn't even think of, right? 3 years ago when that character was made. This character's been out less than, 6 months? Like, how are they having to nerf a character into the ground this much only 6 months after the release of it? Like,
I mean, this is kind of just the other side of the coin of a character being dead on arrival, right?
Yeah.
It feels like sometimes they're very heavy-handed with like the taming of characters throughout playtest, and other times things just slip through. Like, honestly, it's more enjoyable that there are more things that are dead on arrival than slip through like this, but neither thing is good.
No, neither thing is good at all. So yeah, again, doesn't need, we're not talking full rework here, Quinn, are we? We're talking about give him a little something.
You give him something for what you've taken away from him.
Yeah.
And also, AMG, the next time you make a Thor model, give it a beard.
Yeah, King Thor. That's what we want, isn't it? Old man King Thor.
We want to relive the horrors of the past 6 months. We want a Thor that will just ruin the game.
I don't quite think he's D tier, Quinn.
No, he's bottom of C.
But he is at the bottom of C. Is he better than She-Hulk?
No, I think he's less viable than She-Hulk. She-Hulk at least has the fact that she is the leader of an affiliation going for her.
Well, yeah, there is that. And doesn't have another character in the way of her as well.
And also is the only leader of that affiliation.
Yeah, that is true. C Quinn is 4.
Could be unworthy, honestly.
Could be unworthy, yes. Right, Quinn. They are our 6 threats out of the way. Let's jump into our 2 7 threats. Starting off with a very similar character to Thor, at least on his journey, is Malekith the Accursed. This guy has had so many nerfs to him over the these.
We're all deserved, let's be honest.
So, Malekith the Accursed falls across the board. 9 stamina on his front. I want to say 7 on his back. Yes, he is. Size 4. Large base, medium move. I think that's right.
Large base, medium move. Yep. Ghost Rider speed.
Yep. Blade of Midnight. I mean, it's range 2, strength 7. That's it. Like,
yeah, it used to have Pierce, didn't it?
It did. It did. This is a 7 threat character, Quinn. Like,
yeah. Been a long while since I've looked at Malekith. I'm just like, I guess you exist.
It's a 7 threat character with no inbuilt rerolls or anything. I mean,
he's got crit modification.
He can explode, he can explode failures, but yeah, I don't think this is a great builder for a 7 threat character.
No.
Like, nothing on there whatsoever. Like, there's no... I mean, he does have his thing with ferocity where, if
sorry,
it's
pronounce that properly, please.
Ferocity!
There we go.
Which is, pseudo charge that costs 3, but even so, yeah, not a great builder. Blood Boil, which is his second builder, which is going to be Beam 4, Strength 5. Again, Strength 5 is a little rough.
I mean, you're getting flat power gain, and you've got the potential to Cloak of Shadows things for more damage. Like,
yeah,
I'd have liked poison to be guaranteed. That'd be nice.
Yeah,
Something.
Butcher of Thors, range 3.
It's FMG.
Yeah, costs 4. After the attack is resolved, place his character within one of the target, and then on a wild, after the attack is resolved, for each wild in the attack roll, the defending character gains one of the following special conditions: bleed, hex, shock, slow, or stun. That's not bad. Like, that's fine, especially when you consider the fact that you can pay to explode the crits. Sorry, to explode the failures. Like, I think
if he stacks with power, he can get like so many dice on this attack.
Yeah. ferocity we've already been through, so it's a charge, Blade of Midnight, and then a throw at the back end of it, but it's only on size 3 or less now. Used to be unlimited. Cloak of Shadows, I mean, I feel sorry for Domino because of Malekith, because
Yeah.
Malekith inadvertently nerfed Domino, but when you roll dice, dodge attacks or defense, before the critical step, you may spend any amount of power to use the superpower. For each power spent, choose one failure to treat as a crit for the remainder of the roll. This is, you used to be able to overpay, so you could spend 2, and then you could explode 1 failure, and if that exploded into another failure,
yeah,
they both counted.
You gave your crits a 5 in 8 chance for the first one to go through, rather than a 4 in 8.
Yeah. This makes me laugh so much, Quinn. He is the conqueror of the 10 realms, right? So he's gone to all of the realms, right? He's conquered them, Quinn. And do you know what his bounty was for conquering the 10 realms?
Oh, I don't know. It must be something real powerful.
An extra power per turn.
Not even one for each of the realms he conquered.
Not even. No, he gets 0.1 power per turn per realm conquered. I'm playing a lot of Civilization at the moment. That doesn't feel worth it. Like, this might be the most ridiculous name of something with what it gives you back. Like, and it's because it's been nerfed, right? I can't even remember what
Didn't
it used to do.
stop people re-rolling against him?
Maybe.
Wasn't it that?
Let's have a look. Let me see if I can find the old card. Let's have a look. Where is Malekith's card?
It used to be you can't re-roll or modify dice when attacking him.
There we go. Malekith. I just want to compare to his old card. Yeah, here we go.
So he lost 2 HP.
Let's just pull this up here. This is his old...
He gained the ability to give Hex with Butcher of Thorns. That's fun.
This is his old card. Yeah, 10 stamina on his front. So he lost stamina.
I think biggest one was Frosty going from 2 to 3, right?
Ferocity going from 2 to 3. The characters cannot modify their attack dice when targeting this character with attacks. So it was survivability. It's...
I think there's a few things you could give him, but still keep him relatively balanced. For one, I think Frosty just becomes a normal charge. Comes to cost. But you lose the throw kicker on it, right?
Yeah.
Blade of Midnight can probably stay the same. You maybe give it some kind of trigger, doesn't really matter. I think Blood Boil removes the wild poison, gains Dark Curse. Because I think that'd be interesting. You could also drop it down a range if you really want to.
Yeah.
And then Butcher of Thorns, you add a throw guaranteed onto it. So that's how he regains access to his throw.
Regains what he gets
goes
back,
up to 5 power. And rather than Dark Curse, you have effectively Dark Curse Plus, where you can give out a condition for each world if the target has all of those conditions that are listed there. So all 5 of those conditions, you give him an activated token, or you give him a stagger. Something like that.
Yeah.
And it'd just make him a bit more viable.
Yeah. Let's talk about his leadership, Quinn, because he is a leader of Cabal, the Dark
Council. Really
Council.
should have just been its own affiliation with the Asgard baddies. Right.
Yeah. When this character or an allied character dazes or KOs an enemy character, choose another non-dazed allied character. After the effect is resolved, the chosen character may remove 1 damage, gain 1 power, and may advance short. You can only be affected by this leadership once per round. This is Reverse Sam. Reverse Sam. So rather than it being when your characters die, it's when you daze or KO an enemy. It's a solid leadership, Quinn. I'm not going to lie. Like
it's all right.
Being able to get an early daze out, advancing Malekith up the board short, giving him a power, like turns on quite a few things for him, especially his ferocity. So I'm perfectly fine with it as a leadership. I don't think that's not the glaring problem, is it, of him with his card. He does bring some cards for what they're worth. We've got Midnight Phantasmagoria. During his activation, Malekith may spend 3 power to play this card. Push all enemy characters within 3 of Malekith away short. Remove 1 damage from Malekith for each character pushed this way. Again, with new Crisis cards, this has lost some viability, I would say, because, it's you're not going to have as many people to be able to push, but it's fine. It is what it is. And then the Black Bifrost, which is the portal, but you suffer damage, don't you, by going through it? Which I did see some people used to play this a lot.
Some people used it like pretty effectively. On like it was what made Malekith viable on like a D map.
Yeah. But like the fact you can't play it round 1 is rough. It has to be, it's got to be turn 2 onwards, but I suppose it's fine. Malekith is, again, Quinn, I would argue, is a little bit in the same boat as Thor.
Probably an overnerf.
He's been overnerfed. And it seems to be this wasn't even a knee jerk. This was over multiple.
He got multiple hits, which is the interesting thing,
Yeah. Again, I probably think they went a bit too far. People get annoyed, but you have to remember, this is a 7 threat character. This is like taking, I don't know,
Bill and X-23.
Bill and X-23, there we go. So he should be as powerful as Bill and X-23 are together. And he's definitely not anymore, is he?
Or he could be as powerful as like Clear and I don't even know a terrible 4th threat. There must be some.
Ursa Major.
Yeah. He's less Bill and X-23 and more Clear and Ursa Major. There you go.
Yeah. I don't think Malekith's D.
No, I think he came out probably slightly better than Thor, simply because there isn't another bloke called Malekith.
Yeah. I think he probably goes about here, Quinn. If you think that's about right.
Yeah, I think so.
And C, Quinn, is for?
The most incredible superpower known to man. Conqueror of the 10
realms. Oh. It is... It is hilarious, isn't it? I Hulk next, Quinn. Immortal Hulk. Really interesting.
It's just Apple's version of Hulk.
Yep, the I Hulk.
She's just inferior to Android Hulk in all ways.
Really interesting character. So he has these 2 states, doesn't he? Where he has the immortality token. So let's just go through his card because he's a bit interesting. So 4/3/5, 15 stamina, size 4, short move, large base, obviously. Smash. Compare this to Malekith's, right? Range 2, size 7, power equal to damage dealt, but he gets a throw on a wild. That's a little bit better, isn't it?
Pretty good.
Gamma burst. Before damage is dealt, throw the target character short. Cost 5, strength 10. Range 3. I think it's fine. You don't give power to the for the defender doesn't get power for the damage dealt, which is always nice. Gamma leap again, Quinn. Going back into what you said around 6+ threats. You don't want to be, you really don't want to be making a move action with them, do you? Unless it's part of a charge. So the fact he can move around is nice. Leave Hulk alone. Interactive terrain feature or enemy character. Size 4, threat medium. Like, perfectly fine. Gains 2 power during the power phase. And is immune to stun, which means that he's always going to get that, which is nice.
Also poison and hex, which are pretty big.
Also poison and hex.
Poison in particular with the new crises. There's 2 that give out poison, I want to say.
There is, yeah, I think so. Immortality, Quinn. During the cleanup phase, if this character has a dazed token and an immortality token, it is KO'd. Otherwise, during the cleanup phase, while this character is dazed, if this character does not have an immortality token, it removes all special conditions, all power from itself. For each power removed this way, it removes 1 damage from itself. It then removes its dazed token and gains an immortality token. So it can always go down to 0 health, can't it? Once, and then come back. And then what he does is the green door at the end of each turn, if this character has an immortality token, it may remove 1 damage from itself. If this character ever has no damage, it removes its immortality token. And we have to remember, whilst he doesn't have an immortality token, he can never be KO'd. So it's kind of the idea is it's just this cycle. Interesting that he heals at the end of each turn, not the end of his activation, at the end of each turn. So
friendly and enemy.
Friendly and enemy. So if he dazes Quinn, and he's got 10 power, he's going to come back with no power, but he's going to come back with 5 damage. And then he can tap that damage away at the end of each turn. He's interesting. And I think where he is, like in Midnight Suns, I think he does particularly well. You don't really see him elsewhere because, I mean, even in Defenders, yeah,
that's the end all be all of it. Like, for a threat less, you can have an arguably better character.
Yeah, I think
like,
the exception is
very good.
Yeah, the exception is Midnight
Suns. What's it called? One Below All.
Oh yeah, One Below
All in Midnight Suns with Blade is really good because you effectively get a range 2 place plus a range 1 place on a big base. That's a lot of movement. Turn 1.
Yeah.
And also Siege of Darkness, incredible with this guy.
Siege of Darkness, yeah, spending 2 power to be able to do a 7 dice attack with a throw off the back end of it is pretty brutal. So I think he has his place. He's definitely not splashable like the other Hulk is. But I think he does. It reminds me now a little bit of where Ghost Rider is. Like in his place, he's good. But I think he's more visible.
Mean CGR, right?
It's Cosmic Ghost Rider, sorry. Yeah.
Not Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Cosmic Ghost Rider. So I think for me, Quinn, Immortal Hulk, I think he goes at top of B. I don't think he does enough to go into A tier.
No. Yeah, like he's hanging out with Ghost Riders. Like,
yeah. So I feel like that's about, about the right place for him. In fact, let's go through his cards. Actually, you mentioned one below all. So during the Immortal Hulk's activation, he may spend 2 power. If he has an immortality token, he may remove up to 2 special conditions. If he doesn't, place himself within 2. So 2 power for a range 2 place on a large base is very, very good. And then he's got his other one, which is Gamma Drain. Like, I've seen people play this, and I'm just like...
Every time I see someone play it, I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah, so choose an enemy character within 2. The chosen character gains a Gamma Drain token. The Immortal Hulk places this token on an active or reactive superpower of the chosen character. When a superpower with the Gamma Drain is used, after the effect is resolved, Hulk gains power equal to the power spent to use the superpower. Like, it's a cool little thing.
You're jumping through a lot of hoops for a bit of power.
Yeah.
Like the only way in my mind that this can really be viable is if you use it as to get in someone's head about an ability.
Yeah.
But a good player is never going to let you do that.
No.
No.
Yeah, it's the benefits that you're giving your opponent are not enough for you to not do the thing that you want to do, right? I think that's the... Now, if it gave him power and it healed him...
Well, if it gave him power and there was a tax on it, it'd be really good.
Yeah.
Like, if there was a 1 power tax on the ability you put it on, that'd be incredible. But it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So, yeah, I think B tier is about right for him, Quinn.
Yeah.
I think, Midnight Suns is pretty good. Anywhere else, probably not really going to see him played. And that is it, Quinn. That is it for our 7 threat characters. There are only 2 in the game.
Oh, you haven't even done an alphabet yet.
Oh, of course, yeah. B stands for, Quinn.
Hulk, not puny.
Banner. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
So, on to our last 2. 8 threat characters this time, Quinn. We've got 1 natural 8 threat, and then 1 that's a natural 8 threat where you add the right things to him. Let's start...
not a natural 8 threat, then, is what you're saying.
Let's start, Quinn, with Big Daddy D. Dormammu. He is a couple of things away from being perfectly viable, in my opinion, Quinn. Just let him count. Just let him count failures for defense rolls. Is the first thing I would say, Quinn. But let's go through his card. Let's break him down. So I think we already sort of mentioned it. 10, 12 stamina, 10 on his front, 12 on his back. Large base, medium move. Size 5, which does matter in this game for a lot of things. Shadow Bolt, range 4, strength 6, cost 0. Gives a hex on a wild and sap's power on a wild as well. Notice that sap is the only power generation on this builder, Quinn.
Just give him actual power generation. It'd help him so much to not feel terrible.
And I think that's change number 1, right?
Yeah.
And it only needs to be, it doesn't need to be a builder. It needs to be just a flat 1 would be perfectly fine on this and keep the sap. I think that would be absolutely fine. Incantation of Obliteration. Strength 8, costs 5, range 3. On a crit, hit, block, fail, you get Dark Miasma. After this attack is resolved, this character may make an additional incantation of Obliteration without paying the cost. The attack must target a character within 2 of the original target that has not been targeted this round. I would like to see 2 things change on this, Quinn. I'd like the block to become a wild. I hate it when one of the triggers that I need is ultimately
a negative result.
Negative result for me, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, I want an extra little bit of wording around the range of that second attack and any distance from this character. A little bit like what Gamora has with her spender. I just think it would just make it that much easier to get the chain and things. So you're not restricted by the range 3 from Dormammu. Let's jump onto the leadership in a moment. Not of this dimension. Spend 3, place him 2. Sounds like a lot. It is, but he's a large base.
I mean, if you really want, you can make that cost 2, so you can do it turn 1. I don't think there's a problem with that.
I think if you're giving him power on his Shadow Bolt, I don't think we need to.
It'd still be nice.
It would be nice, yeah. Feel the power of darkness. After an attack targeting this character is resolved, it may use this superpower. The attacking character is pushed away from Dormammu short and gains the Hex special condition. If it's already got Hex, it gains Incinerate. I actually don't mind this, Quinn.
It's pretty good.
Like, you get to attack me once.
If you had a way to get power, you know.
Yeah. So, Master of the Realm of Darkness. When this character suffers damage from an enemy effect, it gains 1 power instead of power equal to damage suffered.
Boo.
When another allied character is damaged by an enemy effect or by the Flames of the Fall team, which is the leadership, this character gains 1 power. Additionally, when calculating success or failures of this character's attack, this character adds the number of failures in both the attack and defense rolls to its total successes. Again, we're not talking about big things here, Quinn.
There's a couple things that change here.
Remove the maximum power he can take.
It's so it's such a ridiculous notion. It's like the entire ebb and flow of the game is centered around I take a massive hit, I come back with a bunch of power and have a clapback. No, he's not allowed. He's not allowed to generate power from his builder. He has to rely on other people taking damage, which makes 0 sense. The rest of that paragraph, fine. Damage from his team giving him power is nice.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
I think you just add an extra little thing to the skulls aspect, and you just make it he counts skulls in the enemy roll when defending. Not both rolls, just the enemy roll.
I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly fine. Immune to bleed, immune to incinerate, immune to stagger. I want to add Hex on there. Why he is not immune to Hex is beyond me.
He gives out Hex with Feel the Power of Darkness. He should be able to ignore it. That makes sense.
Yeah. Let's talk about his leadership, Quinn. Because... Okay, let's go through and see what it is first. So, Flames of the Fall team. If Dormammu is included in the squad, that squad is affiliated with Dark Dimension and must use this leadership ability. This character and each other character you control... This character and each other character you control gains 1 additional power during the power phase. That's quite strong, right? Everybody becoming Asgardians. A lot of characters are built, aren't they, around not being able to access superpowers until turn 2. So turning them on can be really, really good. During the power phase, if another allied character has 6 or more power, it suffers 1 damage. Gesundheit. That's a little rough. Especially characters that have been dazed and then come back and take a damage. That's quite rough. But I think overall his leadership I'm fine with. His his affiliation list is anybody. This used to be unique to Dormammu. Now we have 2 other characters who get to do this as well. But I think, Quinn, he's not far off, is he, in terms of...
No, he's nearly there. And he's been nearly there for a very, very long time, and that's the frustrating part, right?
Yeah. The problem is he goes down like an absolute sack of shit, doesn't he? Because 10 stamina seems like a lot because it's double digits, but actually, when you're 4/4/5 with no defensive tech, it's pretty rough. It's pretty darn rough. Like I said, his flip side stays exactly the same with the exception of going up to 12. Yeah, it does. He's got some cards, Quinn.
Oh, great. They're all terrible.
Yeah, they're not the best. Now, Let's just go to required affiliation for these ones. There we go. Because whilst one of them is named by him, and that is Dark Restoration. During the cleanup phase, Dormammu may spend 6 power to play this card. Place an allied character with a threat value 3 or less that has been KO'd within 2. It comes back healthy with no damage and no condition special effects. It's like they've just entered the game for the first time, isn't it, basically?
Which also means they have 0 power.
Which means they have 0 power. Now, it is during the cleanup phase, Quinn. So, when they do come back, it does mean that they will go through and get the power from that power phase. So I think that's fine. So that's a minimum of 2 power.
Yeah.
So I think that's fine. The problem with this card is it costs 6 power.
And Dormammu is terrible at generating power.
And we've just spoke about how, I feel like if we
make those proposed changes, this becomes injured rather than healthy. It takes power for an injured character. Fine.
Yeah, maybe. I'd be interested to see this played with some proposed changes to Dormammu as it is. See how it feels, and then if we need to either increase power, I think if they're coming back as injured, I'd maybe look at reducing the cost ever so slightly and make it 5.
Make it like 5. That's fine.
But so again, this card has some potential. Right now, as the game stands, it's just almost unplayable because Dormammu doesn't generate anywhere near enough power to be able to do this. His other card then, Quinn, that doesn't directly affect him, but is part of Dark Dimension, and he is Dark Dimension, therefore, it is him, is Dark Empowerment. During an allied character's activation, it may suffer 1 damage to play this card. Choose another allied character within 3 of the active character. Effects of the next attack made this turn by the active character cannot cause it to gain power. After the attack is resolved, the chosen character gains power equal to the damage dealt by the attack. So the idea of this is, is that you put this on another character, they do a big attack. You generally would, do it on a spender, so they wouldn't have got power for it anyway. If they do 6 damage, Dormammu doesn't have to be Dormammu, but generally it's going to be Dormammu. Gains power equal to the damage that you dealt. I have a couple of issues with the timing of this, Quinn. Because you have to play it during the character that isn't doing the attack. So that power that you generate is no good this round. It's only good for the next round. And lots of things can happen between rounds. It also means the character that you are making an attack with, if they get dazed before they get to activate, then this just doesn't do anything. So I think there's I have a few problems with the timing of this. And generally, I think that if you fix power generation on Dormammu, then it doesn't matter. This card doesn't need to exist, if I'm being brutally honest. But yeah, I don't know. Do you love it? You got any thoughts on it?
My main thought is, who thought this was a good idea? It's just...
I gather the idea is it's supposed to fix Dormammu's power generation.
Doesn't though, does it?
But it doesn't. No, it really doesn't. So, Big Daddy D then, Quinn. Where does he sit?
We've already named a tier after him. We know where he's going.
But he's going above Hulkbuster, in my opinion, Quinn.
Yeah, needs a few tweaks rather than pretty big overhaul, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think he's far off. Give him... I'd even be happy, Quinn, with a flat gainer on Shadow Bolt, and counting blanks in your opponent's attack rolls for defense.
Mm.
And I think even just those two, you'd go, ooh, actually, that's quite interesting. But as it stands, yeah, nowhere near. And D Quinn stands for?
Doctor Strange doesn't even bother with him.
Don't.
Like, oh, Dormammu's invading. Cool, let Honey Badger deal with it. I'm busy. I've made a pot of tea. Leave me alone. Like,
yeah, I didn't like his representation in the MCU either. The whole weird like.
Well, that's because that was his like actual dark dimension form and not his avatar, right?
Yes, yeah. Also, like talking about like MCU and end credit scenes that have led to absolutely nothing. Where are Clear and Doctor Strange at the moment? Because
how many movies have we actually had since that came out?
Actually, probably not that many.
It's like probably less than 3, I think.
Yeah, probably. Okay, Quinn. Our last character in what has been a fairly epic series of breakdowns. I'm finishing on a character that's just had a huge nerf.
Not as huge a nerf as Hero Midgard.
No, and we'll sort of talk about what the nerfs and whether or not we think they were enough, whether they were too much, or whether they were just right. So this is Thanos the Mad Titan. Yes, he is a 6 threat, but you are going to take him with 2 gems. As it stands, those gems are usually either mind, space, or reality. It used to be. Whether or not we're going to see reality anymore on him, I would argue probably not, and we'll go into why that is. So 3/3/4, 8 stamina on his front. He goes up to 9 stamina on his back. Medium base, medium move, size 3. The first change, Quinn, that's happened with Thanos is on his strike. So it's still range 2. It's still 6 strength. But whereas the throw used to be just 1 trigger, which was a wild, it now needs a wild and a hit. That's fine. Needing that extra little trigger in there, I think is perfectly fine. Cosmic Blast has remained exactly the same. I quite like this. It's a 0 cost spender in that you can spend
boost it up
to add dice. Titan's Will on this is really nice, right? It's generally why you're using it.
Yeah.
Push them away and then give them a slow, which is quite nice. We'll come to Death's Agenda in a moment because that's his leadership. Cosmic Portal is another big change.
Yeah. One that you missed, I believe, in your video.
I missed this, yeah. So it used to be choose another character within 4. It is now choose another allied character within 4, which is huge. It's absolutely huge. It means that Thanos can medium move and then portal somebody to within range 2 of him to then be able to do all the things that he wants to do. It also means that he can't displace the same character twice when he used the mind gem. I'm not sure about this one. Whether or not...
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it was one of the most egregious things about him was the tracked beam.
Yeah.
Like, it was never a fun thing to play against. If you were playing around it, you had to play in a really awkward way that wasn't fun for anyone.
That's fair, yeah. Death's Decree, Quinn, has remained exactly the same. The wording has changed, but I think they've just tidied up the wording. I think the way it read before was like you could add... Read as written, you could add the dice at any time. Now they've, explicitly said when you're creating the dice pool, it's something that had already been addressed on the forum. So, if you're redoing a card, you may as well add that address into the actual ability. But basically spend 2 power when somebody else is making an attack. They get to add 2 dice if on their healthy side, or 4 dice if they're on their injured side. Still very, very good, Quinn. You know, an injured Nebula doing 10 dice full re-rolls is still pretty darn good. He is a being of immeasurable power, Quinn. So when this character would suffer 1 or more damage from an enemy effect, reduce it by 1 down to 0, potentially, which is, you know, again, still absolutely fine. And then additionally, this character may have 2 Infinity Gems rather than the normally allowed 1. Gem bearer of everything, immunity to stun, and the new keyword, Quinn, peerless. Now, what does peerless do? Well, peerless means when you are creating a squad, you can only have 1 character in that squad that is peerless. You know, I could imagine something like a Doctor Doom may have peerless on there. So it stops you from taking Thanos and Doctor Doom together. I'm just using Doom as an example. I quite like that. I quite like... Because in my mind, Quinn, there are some characters who go, I am not teaming up with you. I'm the big bad here. You're not the big bad here. So I'm not playing with you. So I think that's fine. So first big change, Quinn, is Thanos outside of Black Order no longer gets to use gems for free.
Absolutely huge.
And the reality gem
costs.
Now costs 1 power, which is how it should have always been.
How it should have always been, and also, I think, also puts some more stock into 4th threat Loki.
It really does.
You sit there and go, oh, you want to pay 2 power to make that into a crit? Slap a root on him. Oh, you want to pay 3 power? Go on then.
Yeah, it really
So it
does.
makes Corvus cry. I think at this point, Corvus needs a buff because of how badly this affects him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's look then at Death's Agenda, Quinn. Affiliation Black Order. So a couple of changes here. First of all, when an enemy non-grunt character is KO'd, that is a nerf. It's a nerf that I believe is right? Because they can just keep churning out those VPs far, far too quickly against. It's not that it's exceptional. It's that against a grunt-based team, it just becomes stupidly good for them. I remember playing my claw list that was very much aimed around grunts and movement, and I cried coming up against Black Order. Weirdly, even though Black Order at the time were not great, it was my worst matchup because the whole idea was I'm going to keep killing my grunts to have Claw be able to move around. But additionally, this character may use the active or reactive superpowers of gems without paying the cost. So he can still use the gems for free, but only when he is in Black Order and only when he is the leader of Black Order. I'm fine with that. I think they could have extended this out.
To just all Black Order members don't... Yeah, that could be a thing.
I think they could have extended that out. Because then I don't think you need to change anything on...
Well, maybe you add that to Corvus' leadership card in a future update. You add that specifically for Corvus.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, that could be like the main part of Corvus' leadership, is that Black Order models don't pay for gems as a blanket thing for him and his team under his leadership, whereas Thanos is a bit more selfish, but you get the added benefit of the kills.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. The other big change, Quinn, to Thanos
massive.
Is Death's Agenda does not change on his injured side.
It makes him so much better and so much more viable for that game plan of killing things.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. This is a huge update for them. It's something that was needed. Now, we talk about taking away and giving, Quinn, right? For the most part, Thanos has had some things moved around, which is fine. I think they could have kept Cosmic Portal on his injured side.
Oh, because he doesn't lose it, but it still got the nerf that it had. Yeah, that could have been
Like,
fine.
I think they could have kept that, but overall, this is what a good rebalance looks like, in my opinion, Quinn.
It feels like they were cooking this one up for a fair bit longer than they were the Thor one.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So Thanos was S. There's no doubt about it. Thanos was, I think there's an argument to say Thanos was the single best character in the game when you added the right gems onto him.
I don't think Thanos was S tier. I think he was BS tier.
Yeah, fair enough. With these changes, I think it's going to do a couple of different things. First of all, he can no longer be a 10th character you could just put in a list and just play him whenever you want. I still believe you can splash Thanos. I still think there is an argument to say Thanos is still very splashable because he can still do really good things, right? Even being able to move your own characters is still a good thing. Potentially twice, right? With the
the power gem.
With the with the space gem.
Oh, right, with space. Well, no, because not turn one you can't.
You can.
It's not free.
If you've got 2 gems on him, he still
generates 3 power. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but argument is there that you can probably walk up and strike somebody, right? But
can he?
Potentially, if somebody's being an idiot.
Great. If someone's being an idiot, I can win every game I ever play. Like, what kind of logic is this?
No, but I think post turn 1, right? You can still you've still got the ability to move people around.
Post turn 1, Cyclops could move his entire team if he got lucky. Like, come on. In what world does anyone talk about post turn 1 plays? It's not a thing.
But I think what it's done is it has tempered that idea of if I move to the midpoint, I'm going to get absolutely stomped here.
I think even if you move into any of the 3 quadrants of the board that aren't your deployment, you're pretty screwed.
Yeah. So overall, very solid changes. I think it gives some more credence to Black Order potentially. I still think Black Order as an affiliation probably need a little bit of help.
They've got a number of subpar characters, many of which we've highlighted in this series of videos. Gems in general, I think, need a rework to be more viable.
Yep, I agree. I also think a very easy fix to Black Order would be for Nebula and Gamora to just be Black Order.
Nebula, I can see, Gamora less so.
Yeah?
I think it's more of a standard thing for Gamora to have been apart from Black Order for a while. Like, as a starting point for that character in my mind, she's been away for a while. Nebula, on the other hand, starts there, eventually gets out.
That's fair enough, yeah. But I think that would help. Overall, Quinn, like I say, I'm fairly happy with the changes. Even as someone who was playing a lot of Thanos, I'm fairly happy with the changes. With all the changes in mind, Quinn, where do we think he now sits? Because he's still very good.
He's all right. I'm not so sold on the still splashable thing.
No?
I think there are many much better uses of 8 threat.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Like, in my mind, he's like bottom of B. Like, he's fine in his affiliation, and that's fine.
So put him there?
I think that's fine.
Not a single... I mean, there would have been 2, right? But AMG did their job and then did their job a little bit too well on the other one. But yeah, there we go, Quinn. So, from top to bottom, we have got no characters in S tier. which I think is fair. I don't think any
I
of these
think
characters...
it's a very good sign that they have done something. They haven't done anything egregious with them now that the dust has settled after the errata. There are still things that need to be improved, though.
Yeah. So, top of the pack, we've got Hulk. No surprises there, Quinn, I don't think. Apocalypse, probably got some bonus points for Rule of Cool, but again, our rules, our game, we get to put in where we want. Gladiator, solid, right, but feels balanced as well. And then in B tier, we've got Immortal Hulk, particularly, and I think that's what we're seeing now in the B tier here is Immortal Hulk is B tier, maybe A in Midnight Suns. Cosmic Ghost Rider, B tier, probably still B tier in Midnight Suns. And then similar
in it might be C tier.
In Guardians, and then Thanos, B tier. May sneak up to A in Black Order, but probably is C as a splash character now. So B feels about right for him. King Black Bolt, Quinn, obviously hampered hugely by the fact that his 5-threat version exists. Magneto had his time in the sun, but has kind of fallen behind as the game has advanced.
That slow move, he can't keep up.
Yeah. She-Hulk, we spoke about the fact that she should really have 2 sides to her card, and that would really help. Malekith, over-nerfed, just needs a little bit of help. Similar with Thor, needs to just be given something a little bit back. D tier, we've got Dormammu. Again, isn't that far away from being fine, but power generation is always going to be something that drags a character down, and that definitely does for him. And Hulkbuster, great idea, great concept, but you can just never pull it off because it's so difficult to do with a character that comes back with only 2/2/3 stat line and 5 stamina. So there we go. Any last minute changes you want to make there, Quinn?
No, I think they're all in their rightful places.
No, I agree. And I will say, whilst I think credit to AMG for making the changes, let's have more Thanos type changes rather than Thor type changes, please, moving forward, AMG. And also, let's not forget about the little guys. Let's not forget about those characters that maybe people don't shout about too much because they're not breaking the game, but it may be a little bit broken themselves. We could definitely do
Go on, say the affiliation. You want to.
Pardon? Sentinels.
Oh, I thought you were going a completely different direction.
Which one?
Web Warriors.
Well, all web. I mean,
that thing you never shut up about.
And this is
me, by the way.
It was started by you. I want to clarify this.
Your thing.
I don't have a problem with Web Warriors. I have a problem, in particular, with one Web Warrior who.
Whoa. 2 Web Warriors. 2 Web Warriors.
Oh, yeah, maybe 2. One of them far worse than the other one, though. But yeah, we're going to leave it there, Quinn. Let us know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Were you shocked by the changes to Thor? I think I was a little shocked that they went so far, Quinn. I
think Nick Knee-jerk and also he deserved it. Let's be honest. It's like going, oh my God, they shot Hitler.
Really? I want to give a big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters and YouTube members. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you do want to support us, you can do so from as little as £1 a month. You can just hit that join button, or there's a link down in the description below. But as always, you don't need to do any of those things. Just simply liking, commenting, and subscribing really, really does help. So if you could do any of those things, it would be appreciated. Join the Discord. We've got our February event that is up and running at the moment, but come March, we're going to be using all of the new characters. We're going to be using all of the new crisis cards and such things. So if you want to try those out, head on over and check it out. And as always, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.
Aww.